It's showtime. And for our viewers, go to our YouTube channel, Rolland Market Mashup, hit the subscribe button, share with a friend. This is my favorite time of year because it's earnings season and all the hot companies are on deck. Yesterday, Microsoft reported strong earnings, little sell-off, but that's almost, in my opinion, that was expected with the run-up it's had. Tesla does the opposite, runs up high, and everyone says that it can't go any higher and has earnings and then goes up even more. So that'll be interesting to watch today. Twitter reported its earnings this morning and missing revenue, but big increase in users. They're popping right now. It'll be interesting to watch them right now. They are kind of right in between the 39 and 39 and a quarter levels. They got as high as just about 40 this morning. They briefly touched like 39.95. So that'll be an interesting stock to watch this morning to see if it could hold the 39 levels or if it's going to drop. And yeah, I mean, yesterday was a great day for some of the stocks we talk about on the show. AMD had a really, really big pop. It was up, I think, about 8.5%. I got out of my entire position at around 62, and I'll keep an eye on that today. I think 62.30 was the high yesterday for AMD. So that's one of those, if it could break through that again, it's kind of in uncharted territories with just being at all-time highs. So if it breaks through that, maybe it even goes higher. Plug, I covered my short yesterday at 875. I got back in, and then it went higher above 9. I was actually able to cover it this morning back down to 875, and right now I have nothing with Plug. It'll be interesting to watch that because I actually think it's starting to build support at these levels. So I'm starting to worry that it's not necessarily going to drop that much lower than 875. Curious what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, I mean, the chart is starting to look better, but on the other hand, if it drops below where it's been building that support, then there's more reason to get shorted. But you're right about AMD. That's a perfect example of a swing trade. That kind of stock, you almost have to wait when you're in it for the day they take the chip stocks. And, it took about 7 or 8 days from the time we got in. But, what a move yesterday. That was quite incredible. And I listened to the Microsoft conference call, and I was almost lulled to sleep with just listening to all the different categories they're involved in. And it's just such a great company. You come away saying this is a company you have to have in your portfolio, and over time you're going to do well. Obviously, you're going to get days like today where it drops off of the numbers, but it's hardly a drop at all. It's down $3 now. I think at the worst it was down 6 or 7 last night after the earnings. Tesla, on the other hand, I did not listen to the conference call. I watched the trading of it after the earnings came out, and I said to myself, I wish I have the guts to short this thing, right around 1,700. As I said yesterday, in 1 year, I think it'll be half the price at the most. And it's still a great company and is still on a trajectory to do much, much better. It's just so far ahead of itself.
I saw JP Morgan increased their target raise on Tesla from 250 to like 300, which just shows. I mean,
the analysts are so in another world on this for the most part.
No, they just don't understand how the world works.
Yeah, Dan
Ives analyze present. They don't.
Yeah, Dan Ives is pretty good at understanding the present, and he liked the stock after the earnings, but he's kind of out there with only a couple other guys that really are on top of the price movement.
Yeah, I think that I disagree with you completely, Dad. I don't see that stock trading half of where it is next year at all. I think Elon Musk is.
Well, that's what makes markets.
Yeah, I know, but I heard the earnings call yesterday, and all I heard was that thing is going to the moon on another planet
But
now.
that's the company, you know.
No, the stock, because he's been pressured so much by all this bullshit to show profits. He's done it 4 times in a row now. Now that's going out the window. He's not going to care about profits again for a long time. That company is going to skyrocket with people having Teslas. And when you see in Scandinavia, it's cheaper for taxi drivers to have Teslas than regular cars based on the taxes. The writing is on the wall. The guy is such a next level genius. I would not short that stock anywhere. I don't know why anyone is, because it's going to keep going up. I'm going to finally get in on that too. If there's any pullback, I'm jumping on it.
Well, there will be.
And I'll be holding then ongoing until Musk is off the planet.
Another stock that we've talked about a lot on here that is just in full-on breakout mode, I don't know where it's trying to go, but U.S. Foods. I mean, each day that stock is trying to rip a little bit higher right now. It's trying to knock on 22 door. I've been just buying on the way down, and finally I'm basically just about back to even. I'm just keeping an eye on it because obviously when we first brought it up and we looked at the chart, it looked like there was an opportunity for it to kind of get all the way up to 30 if it could act well. And then obviously it kind of was treading neutral around those 20 levels and even under 20. But it's definitely broken through the prior resistance levels of that 20 and change. And it's even broken through 21 now. So next stop for that stock would be 22. And that I think it's starting to look really interesting. And again, this is part of the recovery stock. So if that continues to happen, where these stocks that do well in a situation where things are getting back to normal, that's going to be a stock that does well in that environment. If not, it probably won't do well. And then yesterday there was news, and I was actually shocked this didn't really move the markets more. The Pfizer news with the government kind of coming to an agreement that they were going to provide 100 million vaccines as soon as they get it approved for the coronavirus for free. So I thought that was pretty big news right there. The markets didn't really move from it, but what are your guys' thoughts on that? No news? Is it worthwhile? Is it anything?
Well, yeah, that's why the market wasn't down with this China friction. I think that just kind of balanced out the negativity, if anything.
It's interesting because I wonder if that puts extra pressure on the FDA to approve the drug because the government is spending so much money on getting the vaccine ready. And that would I think that's going to scare a lot of people if it is approved. On getting it early. That's definitely going to be an issue when these first vaccines come out.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. Or not funny, but it's interesting that no one's talking about that. Everyone's just like, oh, when's the vaccine going to be out? And every time there's vaccine headlines, the market obviously pops. But the reality is, who's going to take a vaccine that they're rushing to release anyway?
Well, there'll be people that'll do it, but I think it's going to be hard to convince, the majority of the population. Plus, these things, at least what I've been reading, the side effects are pretty, severe for the most part.
I'll never be taking a vaccine.
Not like a flu shot where, you might have mild issues for a while. So far, I think the side effects are more than that.
That's where it gets kind of interesting because at some point you would think the narrative's going to shift once there is a vaccine to, well, how realistic is it that we can get the majority of people even taking this? And when the three of us, exactly, and that's where, how long is this going to kind of linger? And are we really actually in a recession are we in a period where all we need is a vaccine and things get back to normal? I would argue no, if a lot of people aren't even going to take the vaccine. Yeah. Another stock that we've been talking about on here that has just been on a tear, and I kind of think it continues, APT. I know, Dad, you were saying yesterday that the traders were done with it. I'm not seeing that. Yesterday it broke out in a big way again. I was kind of playing it back and forth all day. It touched 24. 24, I think, is a level where if you're trying to play it on the breakthrough, if that stock gets above 24 today, you can try and chase it to the long side. And I kind of have 24.03 as a price that would trigger a buy order for me to go long and ride the next momentum pop, because that's been kind of what's happening with that stock. Is every time it breaks through its previous highs, it seems like it goes at least 25 to 50 cents higher and then tries to find its new levels. So that's a stock I'll definitely be watching all day.
Yeah, one of the issues that I have is if I'm on a stock early, which this one I was on pretty early, I feel like, it's already had its move after a few days. And I have to remember that there's a lot of people that are just hearing about these names. So there is momentum behind it. There's no question. It's also overbought when you look at the RSI on the daily chart. So you got to be a little careful, at least short term, on this thing. Just for a second, though, go back to Pfizer, because the daily chart is interesting. This stock is almost back to the highs, before everything happened. And I wonder if you're going to get a move towards 41 here, which is the old high.
What's the ticker on that?
PFE, Pfizer. It's definitely trying to break through here. It's over 39 today.
Oh yeah.
So that's something to keep an eye on, because you're talking about one of the major drug companies in the world. And also punching J&J. Let's see if it's it's almost the same chart, Johnson & Johnson. So these two names, which they're both working on the drug, but they have so much else going for them that maybe the drug stocks are really going to be in play for a while here.
Yeah, I like this J&J chart.
Yeah, both charts look very similar on the year chart. So anyway, just keep those in mind for longer term or swing trades. Bank America, Warren Buffett bought a bunch of stock and he announced it. And it's interesting. The stock's not up that much off of him, buying I don't know, what did he buy, 11 million shares or something?
What, Bank of America?
Why would it be up much? He's been performing like an idiot. I wouldn't be.
Now you sound like
David. I followed Buffett's advice on. I've been down money. I'm never listening to a word that dude says again. Word of advice: if someone's over 90, kind of take things what they say with a grain of salt, because they might not all be there.
Yeah, but it's not a him buying necessarily.
I don't like that whole team. I think they're out to lunch. To pull up ATVI, that's something I have my eye on that I think is heading to it's already pretty much at all-time highs. Activision Blizzard. I'm going to be jumping on that bandwagon because it's heading for another leg.
Mike, have you not been owning Take-Two?
No.
Sure, because they all kind of trade together. I know I was talking about Take-Two a while on the show. When I
like ATVI more for long-term growth.
Gotcha. I almost like Microsoft the most in that division with their affiliate with Xbox and everything else.
They own Xbox.
That's what I mean. If I'm going to play a video game company,
That's what makes you like Activision Blizzard even more with what they do.
Well, I'm a big Take-Two owner, and I've had them since they were about 120 and change. They're over 150 now. I actually trimmed a decent amount of that position about a week ago because I was looking for it to get over 150. But yeah, Activision, I'm with you. I think that entire industry is golden right now. And I think it's just taking on a whole new life with streaming. And, you could even envision like a Netflix buying a company like that to add a whole gaming part of their company.
Yeah, and I think also to keep in mind, I was reading this morning, when you think about all these schools are not, it sounds like remote is going to be the case with the fall. A lot of these schools are not going to be opening around the country. So you think homeschooling, kids at home a lot more. What's the best babysitter for parents? Video games. So I already think they were a huge winner going into this pandemic, the way they were set up, their cash flow, they've been very smart as a company, even back 6 months ago. And now I don't think you can ask for a more advantageous setting for them. So I think Activision Blizzard, they have some dominant games rolling out soon. They're a powerhouse. And I don't see that doing anything except continuing to rise.
Yeah, I like it. And back to just to touch on what you were saying about the RSI with APT, I'm starting to realize, and I've been doing a lot of day trading, that when I look at the RSI over a long-term period for an investment, it's almost the opposite mentality as when I'm looking at an RSI when I'm day trading. Because I realized that when I'm day trading, I need the RSI to be in the upper half, where it's staying above that 50 level and showing that there's a lot of strength in the name during the day. And obviously when it temporarily
momentum.
Yeah, and obviously when it temporarily gets above 80, that's when I'm looking for it to temporarily pause. But I'm realizing that you don't want to see it go really below 50 because that shows that the stock is completely losing its momentum. And like I said, it's the opposite, because when you're looking at long-term investments, you want to see the RSI come as low as possible because you want to buy dips. So you want to buy the stock when there's no strength.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's a total different mentality.
Yeah, so when you look at the APT, and obviously today it'll be interesting because the day hasn't quite started yet. You're right on the long-term RSI, but the short-term RSI, the day hasn't started, so it's actually it looks like it's like kind of on the weaker side this morning. Long term, it is overbought, but that's where I've made an adjustment, because at first, when I really started using the RSI as my main indicator, I would look for it to get lower than where I really needed it to get when I was using it for a day trading purpose. And again, if you see an RSI at that 30 to 40 range and you're trying to day trade a stock, the momentum is not on your side, and it doesn't always just change in a day like it does over the course of a longer period of time. So that's something that I've learned a lot over the last couple of weeks just by kind of watching what happens when the RSI does what it does.
Yeah, now another sector that's going to be interesting today. Las Vegas Sands reported last night, and their numbers were much worse than expected. The stock is acting okay, though, after it's not really down that much. I mean, it was anticipated the numbers wouldn't be good, but they were really bad. So I'm thinking that this whole group, Wynn, Vegas Sands, anything related to Macau may be bottoming here. It's worth a watch. And if these things go positive in any kind of meaningful way, you can get a nice move.
What was amazing with those earnings was the gap in projections that the analysts laid out. I don't remember, it was literally between a $900 million scale of what they thought the earnings could be. And it obviously came on like the extreme low end of that. I just thought that showed how out of touch the analysts really are right now with trying to predict anything, which, obviously.
Well, that's why they're analysts. They analyze. They don't know. They're not predicting anything.
Well, they're trying to predict. But I'm not sure how Penn and DraftKings will play into that. I think it's a separate look completely. I think Penn casinos are doing better than Vegas-type casinos for the most part because they're more local, so they don't depend on the airline traffic as much.
Yeah, well, even that Tillman Ferretta guy who owns Waiter, which that's a good transition here because I was going to bring them up next, but he was on TV kind of talking about it a little bit, saying how the destination casinos like Vegas are the ones suffering, but the regional casinos. And when he was saying that, I was immediately thinking of Penn. He said they're the ones benefiting because people who might normally get on a plane to go to Vegas instead are looking for the casinos that are within their neck of the woods that they can get to easily. And that is the Penn casinos, along with some other companies. So that's interesting. Yeah, I wanted to bring up Waiter on here. Obviously, they're one of our competitors. That's a whole other conversation. But as far as their stock, it's definitely been trending on the up and up. 5 is definitely a really interesting level for it right now.
You're
And
probably assuming an acquisition or something.
I'm assuming that acquisition too. I think it's coming, but it doesn't even matter. Again, I'm just to be clear here. What I've been talking about specifically on this show the last couple of weeks is not necessarily stocks I have any interest in long-term investing in, but more so picking out names that are turning into good day trading stocks. And there's quite a few of stocks that are just in full-on uptrend breakout mode, where every day they're trying to set new highs. And those are interesting stocks to play. And Waiter is definitely one of them right now. I have them on my watch list right here. I don't know what the volume is going to be today. Yesterday, they obviously had a good run up. But these are stocks where if they want to break through their previous highs from the day before, from 2 days before, as soon as they break through, they tend to jump a lot higher to find that next trading range. So
I wonder, Waiter has most of their business in the South. Isn't that right?
Yep.
So I wonder if this stock is acting off the idea that restaurants are having trouble staying open due to the pandemic down there, and it's helping them from a trader's point of view. I don't know if it's actually helping them in their real numbers, but the perception of that could be a big deal.
Yeah, I also think that, we see what happened with the acquisitions with Uber and Postmates. You saw what happened with Grubhub. And then you saw Waiter come out and say that they're doing way better than they were previously, that they're profiting, that they're doing all these things. We're close to the industry. I mean, it's tough to think of a situation where Waiter doesn't get acquired. And then it just boils down to what the price is. Are they already at that point? Or are they going to get a really healthy valuation? There's a lot of big companies in the space with a lot of money trying to eat on market share. So
cut us a check. Uber, I would watch out for Uber. From what we're gathering, they're trying to market arbitrage around the country and not profit in food delivery. So anyone that thinks Uber Eats is focused on profit, I'd be hesitant to buy the Uber stock right now, because they're just bleeding cash to the point of, who knows, maybe extinction. I'd love to see those guys go belly up. I think they needed self-driving to already be a thing. And I don't know if not making money in food delivery is a strategy for them that's sustainable.
Speaking of self-driving, isn't there or was an Indy race where there were no drivers? It was all done automatically?
No way, really?
Yeah.
That would be a weird
driverless race.
How do you choose who to root for?
Whichever computer, I guess, you like better. I don't know.
So another stock I'll bring up on here, because Mike, I know you love them and your buddy loves them, and this is again another stock that I think makes a good trading stock as well as a long-term investment. But Zillow Group, ZG, the stock has been absolutely on the up and up. If you look at the chart and you look at the trend, and it looks like 67.50 is where it's been trying to touch, as far as, it's got a lot of resistance there. It keeps trying to plow through there. I'm just talking about the last few days. So I think if it can try and flirt with that range again, maybe it breaks through, and then maybe I'll try and take the long side on Zillow for a day trade.
I mean, it's broken through as far as a 52-week high, all-time high.
Big time. And now it's just kind of trying to, it's an uncharted territory. So each day it seems like it's trying to break through more and more. And if just the last couple of days, it's touched 67.50 a couple times and gotten shot down from those levels. Yeah. So that's just where I think it needs to break through for it to kind of get that next leg. But
I mean, it's just that next leg. When I look at this chart, I could see this leg, being very significant on the upside.
Yeah, I'm about to go ham on it. I think if you own Amazon and Google, you might as well be owning Zillow. Like, it's my buddy who is a genius in the world. I'm not going to bring up his name because he's a private person, but he is a very intelligent guy, and his business is in real estate. And Zillow has been something he's so gung-ho on their future. It's insane. So I was actually with him yesterday, and every time I'm with him, it makes me want to just throw every cent I have into Zillow.
Yeah, the earnings come out in 2 weeks, so it could be, that it's being held back by that one factor. Who
It
knows?
seems like it's ready to explode on another level. It's around all-time highs. It was there a few months ago again. When you look at what they have, two different revenue models with the house flipping and the advertising. I just don't see where there's real downside for that company in the future. They're making real estate assets easier to move. So someone like myself would contemplate getting into real estate possibly. Right now, there's too much friction to get into the space. If you want to buy property, they're making that easier. Redfin is another one to look at. If you want to play real estate, those are the two powerhouses in that space.
I like it because we're going over all the names that have been in breakout mode, and this right now is where the opportunity is until it's elsewhere. And you play what's working until it's not working. If you're trying to play momentum. Another one.
You have to be comfortable. Those are stocks where even if you buy them and you time it a bit wrong and you go down, they're great long-term stocks. These aren't companies that are going bankrupt.
Some of them. I mean, Zillow.
Well, when I just mentioned Zillow and Redfin,
yeah, definitely. But when I'm talking about stocks like, Waiter, APT, these are stocks to be careful in because when the momentum shifts, it can shift hard. But that's
why I also only like when I don't swing and day trade nearly as much as you guys. But when I do, I only like doing it with stocks that I have no problem holding. I don't do
that with swing trading.
Yeah, that's more the swing trade thinking. As far as the day trade, you could be in anything that could be out of business in a week.
Yeah, I don't like that because I really, they could be out of business that day. I'm not.
Yeah, I'll also trade any name when it comes to day trading as long as the momentum and the volume's there. But with swing trading, I'm the same way, Mike. I'm not going to go overnight with a position that I don't feel comfortable with just because who the hell knows? Unless, I've been riding plug on the short end overnight, which has been kind of working out because it seems like it tries to climb at the end of the day and then kind of breaks down after the close. So that's been one stock. Another one that's been absolutely on an uptrend, and who knows when it's going to stop. It could stop today, but Fiverr, and I own Fiverr. I don't own a crazy amount of them, but I mean, this stock just won't slow down. So I think we've talked about it a couple times on here. Yeah. They're obviously that website that allows you to connect with people all over the world for tasks, and mainly digital tasks. If you need video edited or if you need a website built or whatever it might be, Fiverr.
The analysts haven't picked up on it yet. Like, it hasn't really come into the narrative yet, which it will.
In the last 16 weeks, that stock has been up 13 of those weeks.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Well, yeah, I think when you look at the culture of the world now and what's going on, it works in their favor. Like, there's a reason for that. It's not inflated. It's reality.
It's also one of
a winner from it.
Yeah, it's also
think about it, guys. It's not like we're going back to pre-pandemic. It's a new world. That's what people have to think about. It's not, once this virus vaccine comes around, we'll go back to this. No, that's not. There's going to be a lot of shifts on how things operate. Fiverr, it takes advantage of that.
Yeah, they're also one of the few companies, or I'm sure there's hundreds, but one of the companies that I pay attention to that didn't withdraw their forward guidance. They increased it. They beat their last earnings, and in the heart of the pandemic, they had a very clear sense of where their business was going.
Just like Activision, same thing.
So there's a chance that they're getting rewarded. You're right. The gaming stock, same thing. Take-Two, Activision, they all were able to have a clear sense of where.
When you think about it, that's huge to think about as an investor, to a stock. If they're not withdrawing guidance,
that's what I was going to say. There's a chance that Fiverr is like almost getting rewarded extra because there's so many companies that are withdrawing guidance, and if you're an investor, you want clarity. So if there's companies that are giving you clarity, maybe they justify some sort of premium. So that's just that's a thought I have. Wow, it's already 9 o'clock. That's crazy. All right. Well, my trade of the day, I mean, I got a few of them. I've been talking about them on this show. So I'm going to be looking at Twitter as it had its earnings this morning. 39 is definitely a key level right here. I know it's slightly below it, but it's either going to break down or it's going to probably plow through and go all the way up to 40.
Twitter has a lot of upside. I think in those stocks in that sector, we talked about it last week. Dorsey's been pressured to monetize way more with advertising there. I think we're heading into a new era with Twitter.
So giddy up Twitter. Mike, what are you looking at? Activision?
Activision and Zillow. I'd like to see a little pullback on Zillow before I'm getting in again, but I can't be on the sidelines on that stock much longer.
Yeah, and I like Las Vegas Sands if it goes positive today, but not if it stays negative. I'm going to stay away from that. And I'm still playing plug to the short side. I'd be covering it 9.5 and 9.25.
Nice. I felt like this was a domination.
I'm sorry, 8.5 and 8.25.
I felt like this was one of our best shows, like going over all these different stocks and where the levels were that they needed to either get through or not. Like anyone who's watching this right now could literally just pick and choose any of the companies we've been going over, look at their levels, and basically decide where to get in based on what we've been saying.
And get on that Ericsson train if you haven't already.
It's funny because Eric Shipper just commented on here saying,
I know, that's why I said it. That's why.
All right, so yeah, Ericsson. All right, guys, let's try and have a good day here.